This is Markin Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Follow on Twitter. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Marking Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Brennan likes fisting. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. We're marking out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans.
Welcome to Markin Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. This is episode 694. Almost at that 700. We're going to get there. And guess what? So are you by our side. Because you are going to be subscribing to us over at markinout.com, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you may be listening to your podcasts. Make sure you also give us a follow on Twitter at Markin Out. Go give us a follow on TikTok at Markin Out. And also on Instagram at Markin Out 11. Give us a like on Facebook. Buy a t-shirt at prowrestlingtees.com/markinout. And you can check me out, Dave the Rave, over on all social media platforms at David PTDPT. Check out Chris at Chris Sweendog and CM Sweeney 85, and also Brandon at BTTG161. That being said, Brandon, tell me, how are you?
I'm doing awesome as always. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. What did you do for your week?
Nothing. I got more free birthday freebies.
Okay.
I went and got my cookie from Subway, which was just a normal cookie from Subway. But I also got the peanut butter cookies and cream cookie from Crumble. And I feel like I wasted my free cookie. Because it really wasn't what I was hoping for in that cookie. And hopefully they'll have better options when it comes time for my birthday next year. But maybe I should have. I didn't know when the coupon was going to be expiring, so I didn't want to risk holding off and going this week. But this week they have like a cookies and cream Rice Krispie treat, which looks good. There's a peach cobbler cookie that looks good. There's a sugar cookie that looks good, but wasn't a fan of that peanut butter cookies and cream cookie. But like I said, I didn't really do much this week. How about yourself?
Not too much happening over here. Getting ready to head on over to Baltimore this weekend.
You have a tryout with the Ravens?
You know?
You have a tryout with the Orioles?
I can't speak about it at the current time, but let's just say it's going down.
You should have just said, let's just say, quote, the Raven nevermore, or something like that.
Well, that's why I have you writing everything.
He's actually, that's very true. He's actually going to Baltimore for Charm City Cakes to start his career in life as a baker.
Yeah, I didn't want to speak about it, but it's since the cat's out of the bag. Correct. Yes. Cannot wait. It's going to be exciting. But something that was also exciting was Monday Night Raw.
I thought you were going to say something else part of your week, but Sami Zayn opened up Monday Night Raw, and he spoke about his match with Bronson Reed and Chad Gable upcoming at WWE King and Queen of the Ring. And he called Chad Gable manipulative. What's happening
Manipulative.
Right here? Yeah, why did that happen?
You're losing the L. Get the L in there.
Manipulative. Why did that
happen?
There you go.
3 times. You got the L.
But
the L, and with that, you got the W.
So Chad Gable came out and he questioned him about it, and he said that he coached Sami Zayn for WrestleMania to win the Intercontinental Championship. He didn't manipulate him. He ran the Alpha Academy down in doing so. But Sami Zayn asked the Alpha Academy, how much longer are you going to put up with Chad Gable? And then Chad Gable said he's going to take Sami's soul, and Sami challenged Chad Gable to have their match that was supposed to be later on, right then and there, and they move on to that match where Chad Gable gets a big dub before going overseas to defeat Sami Zayn there.
Yeah. Huge win, I think.
In the books aspect of it, yes. But this whole match, we saw Chad Gable trying to get the Alpha Academy to cheat for him behind the referee's back. And Maxine wouldn't do it. Akira Tozawa wouldn't do it. So he sends both of them packing. Get out of here. Go to the back. And then later on, he's trying to get Otis to cheat, and Otis doesn't cheat for him. So Gable slaps the ever-loving hell out of him. And he went to use the Intercontinental Championship, but Sami Zayn hits him with the Exploder Suplex. And when the referee took the championship, Otis clocked Sami Zayn in the corner. And then Chad Gable was able to hit Chaos Theory to pick up the victory there. So
yeah, it's nice to see Otis turning around a little bit.
So yes, it's perhaps a big win for Chad Gable, but it just makes it seem like he's not going to win at King and Queen of the Ring.
I mean,
which I don't think he will.
Let's also, bring up those chants.
Oh yeah, after he won the "You Suck" chants, I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, totally shades of Kurt Angle, and it just shows how over Chad Gable has, over in a negative way, as a heel.
Yeah.
He has gotten with the crowd that they have selected the "You Suck" chants towards Chad Gable, and I really, really hope that the audiences and the crowds will maintain this "You Suck" chant.
It seems like something they can do. Afterwards, Jackie Redmond went to interview Chad Gable in regards to Otis and everything. And then there was commotion backstage. We did see later on Bronson Reed and Sami Zayn. And Otis spoke to Sami Zayn and he apologized. And Sami Zayn told Otis to listen to the fans and not to Chad Gable. And then further later than that, we saw Chad Gable talking to the Creeds, very happily talking to the Creeds.
Yeah, it was as if they were just bonding over the amateur wrestling aspect, you know?
Yeah, and Otis showed up and told Chad Gable that he went to Sammy and apologized. And Chad Gable's like, at first I feel like Chad Gable was like, what? And he goes like, oh, I get it. It's a ploy. You're going to use Sammy's feelings to break him down. And at King and Queen of the Ring, you'll help me win the championship. And he got Otis to say no matter what. So I thought that was a good segment, a whole tie-up segment there for Chad Gable and Otis.
Yeah. Where
Chad Gable in his head, Otis is going to help him win. Most likely, I think it's going to be Otis that is the reason why Chad Gable loses.
Ooh.
Maybe not on purpose or anything, but maybe Otis comes out and he doesn't want to cheat for Chad Gable, and that leads to the end of that match.
That could happen. I mean, it's tough to see Sami Zayn lose the championship after such a short period of time. And it makes sense that if Otis was the reason for Chad Gable not winning, it fits the bill. You know?
Yeah, well, that's why I don't see Chad Gable winning the championship.
Yeah.
But the commotion that was taking place during that interview with Jackie Redmond was that Cruz del Toro got attacked. And we later found out that it was Carlito, but Cruz, if you're watching NXT, he was out injured. So he showed up and he comes back and gets injured again. So I don't even know if that's I feel like he was still injured. And they're just they did that because they needed a way to have Carlito get in good with the Judgment Day more.
Uh-huh.
So Damian Priest ends up warning Carlito that they're not the APA, which popped me, and they're not his bodyguards, but he's welcome back to the clubhouse this week.
Yeah.
And then Finn Balor said that he wished that it was him and Damian Priest in the tag title match and not JD McDonough, which I thought was interesting. And then I popped at Carlito. He's trying to make small talk with Damian Priest. He goes, "So, you see those Knicks?" Because the Knicks, they lost their game and they're out of the series. So
Yeah,
the playoffs. I thought
unfortunately.
that was really funny. Of course, Damian Priest is from New York City, so I thought that was really funny.
Yeah,
But
that was a nice jab.
yeah, and then later on, we did see the Awesome Truth pick up the victory over the Judgment Day to retain the championships. Of course, Finn Balor and JD McDonough. We did also see R-Truth earlier mention that he has Andre the Giant as backup for them since Carlito is probably going to be with the Judgment Day. And Miz was like dumbfounded, and he's like not sure how to tell the Miz about Andre the Giant. And which I believe it was on Andre's birthday. But
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, it was his birthday this past week. Good call.
which goddamn that WWE 2K24, man, that pissed me off. I'll talk more about that later. But R-Truth was like, just trust me. And right then and there, no offense, I was hoping that it was going to be Braun Strowman. And because there were rumors about Mark Henry's contract in AEW being up soon, I thought maybe it could have actually been the Big Show. And like we just didn't know that his contract was up soon or something like that.
Oh, you just said Mark Henry.
Yeah, well, I'm saying like because Mark Henry's contract was up soon, who knows when Big Show's contract is up?
Oh, I understand what you're saying. Okay.
So I would have marked the hell out for Big Show doing a spot like that. But it was Braun Strowman, and it makes so much sense. It was the home state from North Carolina. And he chased JD McDonough into the ring after Carlito got involved, and R-Truth hit that attitude adjustment to pick up the victory and retain the championships, to which Damian Priest was annoyed that they lost. And he made JD McDonough go and get a match with Braun Strowman for next week.
Yeah, I like this because I like how JD McDonough really stood up for himself too when it comes down to it, where he does step up to Braun Strowman. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that at all, and that I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens with that. But next up, you had Braun Breaker, literally breaking all of his opponents now.
Yeah.
He took out Cal Dixon, ref stoppage. Braun Breaker, what a force. You know?
Yeah, Dixon's been on level up, and Breaker literally speared him, threw him out of the ring. He did like a drive-by spear on the outside, and then Breaker speared him again for a third time when after the match was done.
Yeah.
And he went to use the steel steps, but the official stopped him, and then he grabbed a chair and he smacked Dixon's head with that while he was on the steel steps. So it was somewhat like the Von Wagner situation. And I don't know if this is supposed to get people to boo Braun Breaker, but fans were eating that up.
Yeah, I think that this entire, you have a few different ways to go about this, and I feel like this is going to be kind of like Wardlow, where everybody just wanted to see Wardlow demolish his opponents. Demolish. And I feel like we're going to get the same crave for violence, happy fans when it comes to Braun Breaker.
Let's hope nothing is like Wardlow in this situation with Braun Breaker.
Mm-hmm.
But Adam Pearce was absolutely furious with Braun Breaker, and Braun was like, "This is on you. You didn't put me on you didn't put me in the King of the Ring. This is on you." And then we saw Ricochet talking to Ilya Dragunov later on, and Braun Breaker ran through Ricochet. So I think we're going to see something with Ilya Dragunov next week, and Braun Breaker, perhaps. I'm not sure. Not 100% there, but we'll see what happens there. After that, we saw Lyra Valkyria pick up the victory over Io Sky to advance to the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament. I thought the video package that they had for Io earlier was dope. Lyra Valkyria had a pep talk segment instead of a video package with Becky Lynch right before the match, the champion. So I thought that was pretty cool. I wish that we got a video package like we had from NXT UK back in the day with Lyra Valkyria, because If you've never seen a video package from NXT UK with Lyra Valkyria, then I highly suggest going to try and find one, because I think they are some of the best that have ever been done in WWE. But I think a pep talk from the actual champion is pretty cool. And I think it's a good step to have there. And as far as the match goes, I thought there was a lot of nice counters from Lyra Valkyria. And the fans, I wish, were a bit more into this at first, but the match itself, it went much longer than I thought this was going to go. And I think somebody posted that this match was, let's say it was like 19 minutes long. The last Queen of the Ring tournament, I think, was only 18 minutes long total.
No.
I believe so.
That's insane.
So that's really cool that the semifinal match went longer than the whole tournament, the last tournament. And I think Lyra and Io killed it. And Lyra did literally everything she could to counter Io, and she literally stopped Io's moonsault, moved away from it, and in the end, she held onto Io's leg when Io tried to pin her and got that victory. And people were like complaining, of course, because it's Twitter. How dare they have a rookie beat Io?
Rookie?
Well, but we saw Becky Lynch congratulate Lyra Valkyria later on, and then Liv Morgan showed up, and she was surprised that Becky Lynch didn't help her win, and then she punched Lyra.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we saw Becky Lynch speak about her match with Liv Morgan and how Liv attacks people from behind. And Liv came out and said that she only attacked Becky Lynch as retaliation. And she didn't help Becky Lynch when Damage Control surrounded her because it had nothing to do with her. And she's just trying to complete the Liv Morgan revenge tour. And that is by becoming champion. And Becky Lynch challenged her to come down to the ring and fight her, and Liv teased doing that, but she left.
Which makes sense. I mean, she has a valid reason. She's like, why am I going to come down to this ring when I have a match on Saturday? Total sense. I love the justification with it.
Yeah, 100%.
Next up, you had Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark pick up the victory over Maxine Dupree and Ivy Nile. Damage Control, Kaden Carter, and Katana chance to become the number one contenders.
We saw Sonya Deville return earlier in the night. Tried to talk to Shayna Baszler, and Shayna wanted nothing to do with her. I would have kind of expected to see Sonya Deville, but I guess, I don't know, it doesn't really fit, perhaps. She was tag team champions with Chelsea.
What's going on with her? Where is she?
She got in. Who?
Deville.
She got injured. She's been out this whole time. And that's why Piper took over as tag team champions with Chelsea.
Yes. Now I remember.
She's back, and maybe we will see her join Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler. Not 100% sure. And as far as who was going to win this match, I couldn't have guessed who was going to win this, but given that segment with Sonya Deville, I figured that it was going to be Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. But this was a chaotic match. It was very entertaining. For me, the person who stands out the most in this match was Maxine. She had a lot of good offense in this match. And, well, I don't want to say, well, no, she stands out in this match 100%. Not to say the other women didn't, but because Katana Chance and Kaden Carter always stand out when they're in the ring. But yeah, I enjoyed this match.
Yeah, I thought it was solid. I thought it was good. I am interested to see what's going to happen with Shayna Baszler, especially with her involvement on NXT too.
Yeah. I don't think she's going to win the tag team championships, especially not from Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. So
no, I don't think so either. But main event of the evening, you had our semifinals of the men's tournament for the King of the Ring. Gunther picking up the victory over Jey Uso to advance to the finals. Big shocker, I guess. Yeah, he made him pass out.
Yeah. We had a segment earlier, though, with Gunther where he spoke about Jey Uso in an empty arena. And he basically said that he's superior to Jey Uso in the ring. And we saw Kaiser speak later on. We also saw Drew McIntyre, who was still annoyed about being taken out of the King of the Ring. And then he compared Damian Priest to Seth Rollins, where you're worrying about too many things. And as far as this match goes with Gunther, Gunther controlled most of it. Yeah. And he worked on Jey Uso's arm throughout this match. And it came to a point where Jey, he had to hit that desperation Samoan drop from the middle rope to just try and regain some momentum. And later on, we saw Jey spear Gunther, and it technically, I guess, it knocks down the referee. I thought the spot was kind of iffy. But Jey hits that Uso splash, and he couldn't cover Gunther right away due to landing on that bad arm. So Gunther was able to kick out, and then, like you said, he choked Jey Uso out eventually.
Yeah.
That was... You could have... I really thought we were going to see Jey Uso versus Tama Tonga in the finals.
What I do like is that it's so hard to predict who's going to be in the finals.
At the start of the King of the Ring tournament, when it was first brought up, the only person that I wanted to see win the King of the Ring was Gunther.
Yeah.
So now we have Gunther. By the time this airs, we will most likely have Randy Orton. And I mean, how could you not have Gunther?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen with all of it.
Yeah. But that's Monday Night Raw. Moving over to NXT, which opened with Fallon Henley picking up the victory over Thea Hale to advance to that North American Championship ladder match. This was a tough call, because I think both of them should be in that match, but I think Fallon Henley is the person that should be the North American champion. So I'm happy that she advanced. Fallon tried to use a chair during this match, and Ridge Holland ran out, stopped that, and the referee, I guess, thought that Chase U was trying to get involved and cheat. So he kicked all of them from ringside, and Thea Hale had that Kimura locked in on Fallon Henley, and it spilled to the outside. Henley broke it up, and when Thea Hale got back into the ring, she took advantage of that to get that victory. And then Jasmine Nix showed up and attacked Thea Hale. And Thea Hale had, Jasmine Nix had words with Fallon Henley later on, and she's like, you obviously don't need my help or whatever. I don't need to be involved in your business. I waited for you to win before I took out Thea Hale just to get back at her for taking out JC Jane. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and Fallon Henley and Thea Hale are such standouts of NXT, the women's division. I think that the potential with the both of them, it's huge.
Yeah, and then, of course, Riley Osborne was annoyed at Ridge Holland and yelled at Ridge, and they got into a screaming match, and Andre Chase was like, settle it in the ring. So I think we'll see that match next week. Yeah. After that, we saw Axiom and Nathan Fraser pick up the victory over the D'Angelos, Stax, and Luca Crucifino to retain the tag team championships. They had a segment earlier on in the night where they were going over former Heritage Cup holders, and I thought that was funny because when it came to Axiom he denied ever holding it, obviously, and then they all questioned whatever happened to A-Kid, so I thought that was really funny. Because A-Kid is Axiom, if you lift up the mask. But
if you pull back the curtain a little bit.
Yeah, the title match I thought was a good match. It was a bit chaotic, but I like Luca Crucifino being part of the family. I think he's a very good addition there. But in the end, it was No Quarter Catch Crew showing up to beat down Tony D'Angelo, and it led to them losing, and the six of them brawled to the back. And while Nathan Fraser and Axiom are celebrating their victory, the OC showed up. And they beat the champions down. They hit that magic killer, and it's very apparent that they want the title. So, do we see the OC taking the titles?
I'm gonna say, you know what? Why the hell not?
I wouldn't mind it.
I don't mind it. I think that if anything, it's gonna give OC something to do, and it also gives establishment to the tag team championship. Yeah, I'm totally up for it.
Now this next
totally
match.
Up for it. Yeah, right.
We have a triple threat match for a number one contender slot for the North American Championship that ends up getting won by Joe Coffey and Wesley. They defeated Josh Briggs. Ivar was injured in that Gallus attack last week, so Joe got added to this instead. Obafemi was on commentary. Didn't really talk much, so I felt like that was a missed opportunity there. But we did get some good spots in this match. Gallus ended up attacking Josh Briggs. And then we saw Wesley and Joe Coffey both land on Josh Briggs at the end of the match. So it was an interesting finish that I wish didn't happen.
I got
Ava makes it a triple threat match for Battleground. Moving on, Jada Parker picked up the victory over Brindley Reese to advance in the North American Championship ladder match. Idris Inofi earlier, he was talking about how he really thinks he's cursed or whatever, and fast forward, Idris Inofi and Malik Blade show up, which didn't really affect the match. But Brindley Reese did lose shortly after they showed up. And if Idris Inofi is out there thinking he's cursed, why would you show up?
Yeah, you're just spreading your bad juju around.
But it was nice to see Brindley Reese get as much in as she did. I wasn't expecting that. And she's always going to have that very positive attitude coming out of it.
Yeah. Next up, you had a hype vignette of Wendy Chu.
We got more than snoring.
Yeah, she is awoken.
Yeah, she got out of bed, so...
Yeah, so that means that she's coming soon.
Yeah.
I don't know if they didn't say when yet, right?
No.
We just know she's coming.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing her come back, and I'm really surprised that I want to see her gimmick succeed because it's so different. Like, I don't know how it would go over on the main roster, but I want to see how it goes over.
I think we did see a glimpse of it. I remember mentioning this recently, that we did see that glimpse in the Rumble, so.
That is true. I forgot about that.
Earlier on, we saw Robert Stone, where Lexis King approached him and told him, you don't have to find the next big superstar. You need to attach yourself to me. And then he told... then Ava showed up and she told Lexis King that he has a match and he'll find out who he's going to be facing while he's in the ring. And then Lexis King cut a promo and Robert Stone interrupted to just say who his opponent is. And it was Dante Chen. And Dante Chen got a big ovation, which was, I guess, kind of surprising. He's been on Level Up as of late. He did defeat Lexis King. The interesting thing about this is that Lexis King's debut match in NXT was against Dante Chen at Halloween Havoc last year. But Dante Chen used an inside cradle to get that like sort of quick victory. And then Robert Stone and Ava congratulated him later on, and a star is born, perhaps?
Yeah, why not?
We'll see.
We'll see. But on to
Trick Williams after
Williams.
that. He spoke about Noam Dar and just reiterated that he didn't attack Noam Dar. And Metaphor came out and Jakara said that they know it was him. And Oro Mensah was like, just admit it was you. And Lash said it wasn't Trick. And I thought she was going to say why she knew it wasn't Trick. To be like, I was with him or something like that. But that didn't happen. And then Joe Coffey came out.
The word.
Yeah, Joe Coffey showed up and he's like, oh, I bet you're wondering why I'm out here when I just qualified for the North American Championship match. And Gallus from behind attacked Trick Williams. Javon Evans tried to make the save, but he got beat down as well. And that sets up a tag team match for next week. I still think Noam Dar took himself out. So
it would work with his gimmick and who he is, you know?
Yeah. And next week it was announced that Sexy Red is going to be on NXT, so I have to assume Noam Dar is going to like show up in like a neck brace and maybe crutches and everything just to try to get some screen time with her perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens with that. After that, we saw the main event, Carmen Petrovic and Natalya picking up the victory over Lola Vice and Shayna Baszler. I thought it was impressive to see Lola Vice and Shayna Baszler work so well as a team together with like constant tags and everything. And considering they're not a tag team. So I thought that was interesting. I liked that Natty and Carmen Petrovic had matching gear of sorts. They did stereo moves as well. So I'm liking this NXT version of Natalya. But Lola
it's
Vice,
giving her a shot too. I do like that it's giving Natalya a shot to get into these matches and everything, while also not having to be in a factor on the main roster battling for the championship.
Yeah. And Lola Vice tried to lock Natalya in that sharpshooter, which Natty was able to reverse into her own sharpshooter, perhaps because Lola Vice danced before doing it. But Shayna Baszler broke that sharpshooter up. We saw Natty and Carmen Petrovic win with the heart attack, which was nice to see. And after the match, we saw Shayna Baszler help Lola Vice up afterwards, which I feel like is not something we would see Shayna Baszler really do. But she did that, and in return for doing so, Lola Vice kicked her in the head. Bit rude.
Very.
And then Shayna Baszler got up when Lola Vice was dancing, and she locked her in the Kirifuda clutch. And the referees ran down to break it up, but they continued to brawl. And Ava sets it up as a match for Battleground, which I think is very fitting. And even more so fitting, Shayna Baszler called it for NXT Underground. So come Battleground inside that UFC, what is it called? The Apex or whatever? We're going to get an NXT Underground match.
Yeah.
Lola Vice
I'm excited for it. I mean,
she was quite the MMA fighter.
Yeah, I mean, and let's not forget the last one that she had, which was epic. You know,
it would be really cool to see them like actually go out there and do an MMA match. Don't know if they would do that. I mean,
I want to see the blood sport.
Well,
Shayna Baszler out there.
Yeah, maybe we will. Maybe we will. But that is NXT. Moving over to SmackDown. It was really cool to see SmackDown be presented in such a big, like, WrestleMania-esque manner. But it opened up with Nia Jax picking up the victory over Bianca Belair to move on to the finals of the Queen of the Ring. So, obviously, disregard everything we talk about in a bit where we don't know the outcome. I really liked Bianca Belair's gear here. Kind of reminded me of Elsa. But Bianca Belair's knee was not 100%. And we saw Nia Jax work on that throughout the match. Bianca Belair at one point powerbombed Nia Jax, which I think can be argued not a smart thing to do. She went for a KOD. She couldn't lift Nia Jax at that point. Also, not really a smart thing to do. And Nia Jax continued to work on Bianca Belair's knee, and eventually there came a time in the match where Bianca Belair did lift Nia Jax up for that KOD, but Nia Jax got out of it because of the bad knee. So Nia Jax goes on to hit that senton, hits that annihilator, wins the match. Maybe it could be said that Bianca Belair wasn't the smartest in here. She didn't think about her bad knee, and I feel like you should have. But Nia Jax won. I like Nia Jax's promo afterwards, how she spoke about how she went right through Bianca Belair. because that to me puts over Bianca Belair, the way she was saying it, and was talking to Lyra Valkyria saying she'll go right through her as well. And then later on, we saw Tiffany Stratton show up to make fun of Bianca Belair for losing, kind of rubbing it in her face. She's like, oh, maybe next time. And then the Way showed up to also make fun of Bianca Belair, and Bianca went to square up with them. And Jade Cargill showed up to like maybe calm her down, but also back up the Way. And Jade Cargill said she'd go speak to Nick Aldis. The match gets made to a kickoff show match for King and Queen of the Ring. And I'm just going to assume that Dave's pick is going to be the same thing. We're going to stick with the champions, Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, pick up that victory. The Grayson Waller effect took place where LA Knight was supposed to be the guest, but Carmelo Hayes interrupted and put himself over. He's like, oh, it sounds like you guys are describing me, but you left this, this, and this off the list. And then the three of them joined together to make fun of LA Knight, who was over big time there. And LA Knight showed up, did his shtick, and when he went to leave the ring, Carmelo Hayes attacked him. Knight tried to fight back, but A-Town Down Under joined in, and then the Street Profits eventually ran down and make the save. And it gets set up into a tag team match where we see LA Knight and the Street Profits pick up the victory over A-Town Down Under and Carmelo Hayes, which was a fun match. The crowd, I think, ate it up. I feel like this was the match that they were like most excited for. And they eventually did that move spot that I really hate, but they had Grayson Waller go for his finisher. LA Knight reversed it into the BFT, and then Carmelo Hayes got involved there. LA Knight ends up throwing him ringside, tagged in Montez Ford, hits that frog splash, and picks up that victory. And then the Street Profits were celebrating later on, and DIY showed up, and they were like, look, we're coming for the tag team titles. If it means going through you as well, so be it. So DIY puts them on notice. I'm sure maybe that'll get turned into a match at some point. And I do think we'll see DIY eventually become the tag team champions and dethrone A-Town Down Under. We saw a video package for Blair Davenport, basically putting everybody on the roster on notice, and it said coming soon to SmackDown. We had Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul's final confrontation before King and Queen of the Ring. Logan brought up how he gave Michael Cole his brass knucks, and Cody was like, I don't believe you. I'd have to be stupid to believe that. Or be stupid to not believe that you have a second pair. And then Cody Rhodes had the referee come in and pat him down, then pat Logan Paul down. And the referee stopped at Logan's leg, which was really funny. It was kind of like Looney Tunes-esque, if that makes sense. And it turned out that Logan Paul had a second pair of brass knuckles. And he came up with excuses as to why he has them. He's like, oh, they're not my pants. And then he ended up saying that they were there for his protection for SmackDown. But he said that he won't use them during his match. So I thought that was a funny part of the segment. And Cody Rhodes was basically like, look, I believe that you are a WWE superstar, but I don't think you can become WWE champion until you start treating it like you're not a part-timer. So I like the last interaction between the two before their match. And I thought this was well done. After that, we had Bayley pick up the victory over Chelsea Green to retain the championship. Pretty quick match, but I thought it was good. It wasn't one-sided, which is always nice to see. But Piper Niven ends up attacking Bayley after the match, and Bayley had a quick comeback, but Piper shut it down. And it was Piper and Chelsea leaving on top out of that segment. After that, in Nick Aldis' office, we had AJ Styles ask Nick for one more chance at the WWE Championship. He wanted to face the winner of Cody Rhodes versus Logan Paul. And Nick Aldis was like, personally, yes, I would say yes. But professionally, I can't because it has to be earned and it takes time. And AJ Styles was like, I don't have time. So it kind of seems like they're doing some sort of like retirement angle with AJ Styles, which I really hope is not the case. That like, I hope it doesn't turn into an actual retirement or something like that, because I think he could probably still go for years. I don't know how, like, body-wise, but it doesn't seem like he's in any, like, pain or anything. So we'll see where that goes. After that, there was a vignette for Andrade. It's basically saying he's more than a luchador from Mexico. He was born to do this, and he'll show everybody on SmackDown who he is. And then it cut to Legado del Fantasma backstage, where Los Lotharios were like, ugh, like, I wish he was on Monday Night Raw and not on SmackDown. And it seemed like Elektra Lopez and Santos Escobar might want Andrade in their group. I don't think that'll happen, but maybe we will see Legado try and court Andrade into the group. After that, we saw backstage Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa talking, and Paul Heyman brought up how Tonga Loa couldn't be at SmackDown because he's basically too dangerous to be cleared to enter the country. And he said there's a reason why they didn't include Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa in the original bloodline, because they don't know what they're dealing with. And Solo basically told him, if you have a problem, fix it. And then Tama Tonga basically warned Paul Heyman, saying when Roman Reigns is not here, Solo Sikoa is the head of the table. Basically, listen to him. And then we move on to the match where Randy Orton picks up the victory over Tama Tonga to advance to the finals. I think it was cool to see Randy Orton and Tama Tonga in the same match. And we saw Tama Tonga work Randy Orton's bad knee in this, which I think is very weird that both semifinal matches on SmackDown featured that. King and Queen of the Ring both featured bad knees. Obviously, Randy Orton was able to overcome his bad knee. But I liked Randy Orton doing that backdrop onto the commentary table and then smiled at commentary and then did it on top of the Saudi Arabia commentary table. So I thought that was funny. But Randy Orton goes for an RKO eventually, and Solo Sikoa gets up on the apron. So Orton stops, or it was reversed. I couldn't really tell. Orton goes and knocks Solo Sikoa off, so that's why I think he stopped doing it. And eventually turns around, nails that RKO, and picks up the victory. And then after the match, Kevin Owens showed up to help Randy Orton out. We haven't seen Kevin Owens in a while. So that's SmackDown. Going to move over to predictions for King and Queen of the Ring, taking place at the Jeddah Superdome in Saudi Arabia. We have a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. Sami Zayn, the champion, defending the championship against Chad Gable and Bronson Reed. We said it before. Sami Zayn's probably retaining.
Yeah, I agree. I think Sami Zayn's going to retain the championship. Or, no. I was looking at Bronson Reed. I'm like, no. I'm not changing it. No way, no how. Next up, let's go to the Women's World Championship on the line. Becky Lynch taking on Liv Morgan. I'm
going to say
it would be interesting.
Yeah, I would love for Liv Morgan to win, but I'm going to say Becky Lynch.
Becky just won it too. Yeah, I'm going to go Becky Lynch.
The WWE Championship is on the line. Cody Rhodes defending the title against Logan Paul.
Cody.
Yeah. Cody Rhodes.
Easy.
Queen of the Ring Tournament Finals. We now know the champions will receive a title match for their brand at SummerSlam. Which SummerSlam had a huge announcement this week. For 2 years in advance. No news about 2025, but it was announced that Minneapolis, Minnesota will host SummerSlam 2026 over the course of 2 nights. Why?
Huge.
Probably because of New Japan, but...
What do you mean? Why is that?
Because they were the ones that started this whole 2-night gimmick. And then it worked for WrestleMania. Very much so worked for WrestleMania.
Oh, 100%.
So, but that's 2 years from now. Who knows what's going to happen next year? But the finals, we will see Lyra Valkyria As of right now, we don't know who who else is in the finals when we pick this, Bianca Belair or Nia Jax. But I'm hoping it's going to be Lyra Valkyria that walks away as the champion, or as the queen of the ring.
Yeah. I think that would be a great point for her. So I'm going with Lyra Valkyria as well. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go with Nia Jax.
If I'm going to be disappointed if it's Bianca Belair,
Mm-hmm.
just given the fact that she's tag team champion as well. But
Yeah.
I mean, I could see Nia Jax getting that title shot. I could see Lyra Valkyria getting the title shot even less than Nia Jax. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm all for Nia Jax. I'm all for Lyra Valkyria.
Lyra just took out the former champion too.
Yeah,
With Io.
very true.
But I'm gonna go with Nia Jax on this one.
For the king of the ring, we have Gunther taking on, I'm going to just assume is Randy Orton, and I'm going to say Gunther.
I'm gonna say Gunther as well.
So that is our predictions for WWE King and Queen of the Ring. Going to take a quick little break right now, and we'll be right back here on Markin Out.
Hey, this is Danielle Fishel. You're listening to Markin Out.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Markin Out episode 694. Collision and Rampage again were switched and on the same night. So it opened up Collision with Will Ospreay picking up the victory over Shane Taylor. We saw the Kingdom come out for this match. Roddy did commentary. Will Ospreay eventually threw Shane Taylor into the Kingdom. And then threw water on Roderick Strong. And I thought the match itself was decent, but I do wish that Shane Taylor was presented as an actual threat. He's a big guy. He should be presented as a big guy, and he's not. And he only has one TV victory in AEW. So why should I think Shane Taylor is going to be winning any matches? We saw the Kingdom get up on the apron for a second. They backed down. But from there, Will Ospreay went on. He hit that Oz cutter. And Shane Taylor caught him. And I like that because for a glimpse, you see him being presented as a big guy. But we saw a very impressive Storm Driver to pick up the victory for Will Ospreay. The Kingdom tried to jump Will afterwards. And he got the better of them and ran off. After that, we saw Hook pick up the victory over John Morrison in that FTW Contender Series qualifier. And then Shibata beat Rocky Romero. Brian Keith beat Boulder. All three of them qualify. All three matches were beyond predictable. Although Brian Keith being in the tournament, whatever you want to call it, makes no sense. And I think, unfortunately for everyone involved, I couldn't care less about this storyline. And in the same case as Shane Taylor, I think Boulder should be looking like a beast as well. They're big guys and they never win. After that, we saw the Bullet Club Gold. They made their entrance and had Pac with them, passed out, beaten down. Earlier in the night, we saw Pac say something to like, oh, make me feel something like that. So they knocked him out. We'll put a pin in that. Orange Cassidy picked up the victory over Isaiah Cassidy. Two different spellings. Don Callis watched this match, but Trent came out during this, and I feel like overall the match was rather pointless. And it just sets up Trent Beretta versus Orange Cassidy again, which shouldn't have happened until the pay-per-view. And I truly hope that it's Trent Beretta beating the absolute trash, the absolute life out of Orange Cassidy at Double or Nothing. And I feel like that's not going to happen. But I wish that was going to happen. After that, Serena Deeb picked up the victory over Anna Jay. This match seemed rehearsed. And I don't think Anna Jay should have been put in this match because what does this win do for Serena Deeb? As a face, she's beating a face. I don't get it. Luther grabbed Serena's flag, and then he and Mariah May held it up for Toni Storm to strip. And I don't get that either. I don't know if it's a reference to a movie from the 30s or what. I did not get that at all. Like, that doesn't even make sense as a mind game to Serena Deeb, in my opinion. I don't get it. After that, Nick Wayne picked up the victory over Jack Cartwheel. Nick told Christian that he can do this match on his own, and he did. Jack Cartwheel is really not much of a threat to Nick Wayne, especially on television as like a random outsider coming in. But it was cool to see him on television. Nick Wayne used Swerve's finisher to end the match. But I really don't see how this hypes up Nick Wayne to face Swerve on this week's episode of Dynamite. Like, a win is a win, but you're beating up someone who has not won a single match on AEW television, and you're going to face the champion, and that's like, oh, I'm good to face the champion? I don't think so. Main event saw Bryan Danielson and FTR pick up the victory over The Righteous and Lance Archer. The last time The Righteous was on television, Bryan Danielson beat them. But I think they were a good chaotic team to face Bryan Danielson and FTR to push towards Anarchy in the Arena. And I like the finish, the Shatter Machine. A bit interesting, though. I didn't really understand why that took place. Why did that reversal spot happen with Cash? But they hit the Shatter Machine, pick up the victory. The Righteous then beat them down afterwards. And then, interestingly enough, it was Daniel Garcia that made the save. So, in that instance, should it not be Daniel Garcia in Anarchy in the Arena? Or should it have been Darby Allin be the one that saved FTR and Bryan Danielson there? Does that make sense? Not really. AEW Rampage took place afterwards. Kyle O'Reilly picked up the victory over Lee Moriarty in a very, very random match, but it was the best match from that Saturday block. Sort of reminded me of those matches that we'd see from the Cruiserweight Classic. Just worked a bit differently, but very well done match. Kyle O'Reilly came out on top. After that, Roosh picked up the victory over Cody Chun. Chun over with the crowd. Never heard of him before. I believe he's from that area where Rampage was. Very quick match. Much needed victory for Roosh. And then he beat Chun down afterwards. So we'll see more with Roosh, hopefully, maybe not this week, but maybe next week. After that, Deonna Purrazzo picked up the victory over Robin Renegade. This match just went way too long. And commentary spent most of the match talking about Toni Storm and Serena Deeb, who are not even part of the same feud. That was so goofy. But Deonna Purrazzo locked Robin Renegade and Venus de Milo afterwards. Thunder Rosa ran down. She checked on Robin. And Deonna Purrazzo had left at that point. But Thunder Rosa had her back towards Deonna Purrazzo. Purrazzo got back in the ring to knock Thunder Rosa over, and then she left again. And Thunder Rosa chased after her. Deonna Purrazzo ran and then stopped running so Thunder Rosa could catch up to her. They brawled. That also took too much time. Main event saw Brian Cage pick up the victory over Anthony Bowens. Brian Cage obviously needs to be built up more since I guess you could say he's in the main event feud, but he's still not really in the main event feud or the supposed to be main event feud. That feels like it's Ring of Honor dark. But it's really you're going to have to do a lot to build Cage back up to how he was in 2020. And low blowing Anthony Bowens behind the ref's back, I don't think is going to help. And on the opposite side of that, I think a story can be told that Anthony Bowens wasn't exactly prepared for a singles match, as the Acclaimed wanted to be in tag matches, but they took the first match that they can get to be featured on television. So half the match works for me, half the match doesn't work for me. Moving over to AEW Dynamite, it kicked off with Trent Beretta and Roderick Strong picking up the victory over Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay. I couldn't have cared less about this match. The referee at the start tried to have control, but that all went out the door. We saw Wardlow show up at one point to attack Will Ospreay. Who cares? And then they all beat them down afterwards, and it's the same thing every single week. Just different people. It was Tony Khan one week. It was Kenny Omega the other week with the Elite. It was Swerve with the Patriarchy. Over and over again, same exact things. And this is a go-home show to the 5-year anniversary pay-per-view. Bullet Club Gold came out. Jay White spoke about Pac, and fans didn't seem too into it. You could literally hear people saying who wrote this. And then Pac interrupted on the screen and spoke about how 3-on-1 isn't really fair. And we saw the Death Triangle reunite. And they brawled. Death Triangle came out on top. I think it's nice to see them back. And then Pac challenged them for the tag team championships, which Jay White accepted later on. After that, Hook and Shibata picked up the victory over Brian Keith to move on to Double or Nothing to face Chris Jericho. Shibata had Brian Keith locked in a leg lock. And then Hook had Red Rum. And Brian Keith tapped out. Chris Jericho got on the mic and said that no matter what, he'll win. Coincidentally, we saw a very, very similar finish on NXT this week. But I don't think that had any factor to it. It was just very coincidental because how goofy this match was and the whole tournament and everything, it just makes sense that they would have done something stupid like this versus something like NXT had with Joe Coffey and Wesley. But after that, we saw Takeshita, which in that NXT sense, it somewhat works. In this setting for AEW, I understand it, but it's just a terrible, like, you didn't need to have that. I thought it was going to be a one singular match. I didn't think it was going to be 3 separate matches to gain entry into this match. So it just didn't make sense to me, especially who they were facing. Like, what did any of them have to do with Chris Jericho? It didn't make sense. Hook and Shibata made sense. So, and there was no follow-up with Samoa Joe. After that, we saw Takeshita pick up the victory over Matt Sydal, whose last victory on AEW television was June 2021. So, Takeshita continues the attack afterwards. Jon Moxley came out, clocked Takeshita, and basically said, I'll see you at Double or Nothing in a non-title match, which was probably only set up because Takeshita had an interview that came out last week about basically how bad he feels. He puts everything into his matches and he thought he'd be used or showcased, and that's not the case. Something like that. Very sad to hear something like that from Takeshita, who I think can be a big star. But then they have him in a match like that. Swerve picked up the victory over Nick Wayne. Obviously, Swerve was winning this. Killswitch attacked Swerve afterwards. Swerve got the upper hand. Christian was in this segment and took off running. Swerve chased him. Christian hops into a car, tries to take off. Luckily, another car happened to be there, pulls up. Turned out to be Prince Nana. who's been missing for weeks. I popped at that. Obviously, the spot doesn't really make sense, but I still pop for it. And then Swerve caught up with Christian. They brawled on top of the car. Christian ends up escaping. We saw Malachi Black pick up the victory over Kyle O'Reilly. I thought this was a good technical match, a bit slow. I didn't even realize this was going to be a match when I said last week that I could see Edge beating Malachi Black and joining, or Malachi Black beating Edge and Edge having to join House of Black. But now I'm not so sure, because now I kind of can't. But the lights go out afterwards. Probably some sort of knockoff Brood theme song played. And Malachi Black got bloodbathed. And Edge showed up on the screen and said, "Be careful what you wish for." Maybe we will see Jeff Hardy and Gangrel at Double or Nothing. I don't know. I would pop for that. New Brood, old Brood. I think that'd be pretty cool. Tony Storm and Mariah May picked up the victory over the Outcasts. The main story, Serena Deeb showed up afterwards and attacked them with a chair. So maybe she is a heel here. I don't know. And Tony Storm's a face? I don't know. It makes no sense. Main event saw Bryan Danielson. The main event saw Bryan Danielson take on and defeat Satnam Singh via disqualification. In what world does this match get set up? I don't even understand how this match came to be. But I think for me, the highlight, unfortunately, was that Sanjay Dutt had cleared off the commentary table and the whole thing broke. I think that was hilarious. But Triple J ended up jumping Bryan Danielson. The Elite came out and paid them off. And Bryan was left to fight for himself. He was beating up the Bucks, but then Okada's music hit. He showed up. Jack Perry attacked Bryan from behind. Moxley, Claudio, they don't care. We know Mox was there. They don't care about the Blackpool Combat Club. How does that make sense? They just leave Bryan Danielson out there to get beat up by himself? But then a car comes up and it's Tony Khan driving Darby Allin, and he came out with a flamethrower, so that backs off the Elite, and they did brawl. But if you knew you were going to have that spot with Tony Khan and Darby Allin, why would you do that car spot early on as well? I don't understand that, and I really don't think this was a good go-home show for the 5-year anniversary pay-per-view. So it was a very interesting ending there, leading to Double or Nothing. I'm sure there's going to be a million matches added from now until Double or Nothing. You still have Rampage and Collision. But Double or Nothing's taking place at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, Las Vegas. We already have a ton of matches. I'll just start with the International Championship. Will Ospreay challenging Roderick Strong, and I think Will's going to take the title. Tony Storm facing Serena Deeb to defend the AEW Women's World Championship. Gotta say Tony Storm. Edge facing Malachi Black for the TNT Championship inside the barbed wire steel cage. I'm going to say Edge. At one point, it would have been Malachi Black. Now I'm thinking Edge. IWGP Eliminator match, where if Takeshita wins, he receives a title shot. Jon Moxley versus Takeshita. Hopefully Takeshita. Which would suck because you beat the champion. Now you got to beat the champion again. It's pay-per-view. Just make the title be on the line. Singles match, grudge match, straight up match. No rules. No different rules, I should say. There are rules. It's a standard wrestling match. Trent facing Orange Cassidy. Who cares? Hopefully Trent. I'm going to say Trent. Three-way for the FTW Championship. FTW rules, of course. Chris Jericho, the champion, defending the titles against Hook. The title against Hook and Shibata. Hook. Let it be Hook. End this storyline. For the Trios Championships, Bullet Club Gold, defending the titles against the Death Triangle. Given how the Bullet Club Gold just won the titles literally a month ago, I hope they win, but I don't see Death Triangle losing, but I'm going to say Bullet Club Gold. You have Anarchy in the Arena, the Elite taking on Team AEW, Bryan Danielson, FTR, and Darby Allin. I think Team AEW is going to take that W. You have for the AEW Championship, Swerve defending the title against Christian. Swerve. Has to be Swerve. And then for the AEW TBS Championship, people still want it to be the main event. It's billed as one of 3 main events. I don't think it'll close the show. But Willow Nightingale defending the title against Mercedes Moné. And as much as I want it to be Willow Nightingale, I think Mercedes is going to win. So that is Double or Nothing, the 5-year anniversary. Hey, Brennan, got any shout outs?
Hey there, Hef. We should listen to Brandon's shout-outs.
The first shout out goes to Young Sheldon, because after 7 years and 7 seasons, it has wrapped and had its series finale last week, which, by the way, I wish they had more wrestling involved with this show. It's been a few years since we've had wrestling references, but this show I thought was very well done. And I know a lot of people hate Big Bang Theory, but I enjoyed Big Bang Theory.
I love Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, I thought it was an enjoyable show, and which a lot of people don't even realize that when they have laugh tracks on TV shows, they are filmed in front of live studio audiences.
Yeah, the Big Bang Theory always they have clips of them with the crowd and audience.
Yeah, so Young Sheldon wasn't filmed in front of a live studio audience, and I really think I enjoyed that show more than Big Bang Theory.
I never got into Young Sheldon. I saw some of it, but I don't know. I feel like because I already have in my mind, I already have who Sheldon Cooper is and everybody and all the characters.
Right.
It's like the prequel to Big Bang Theory or Sheldon just doesn't really...
Honestly, I feel like if you don't watch Young Sheldon, you don't have a full grasp on the characters. Mm-hmm. Well, Sheldon-wise, at least. Yeah. In the Sheldon-verse. But I think they did a very good job at continuing the story with a prequel. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I really, for the most part, I enjoyed Young Sheldon more than Big Bang Theory. And there's already going to be a follow-up series to Young Sheldon coming later this year that's going to be in a live studio audience, like Big Bang Theory was. So that's going to be crazy because we haven't seen these characters in that manner. Mm-hmm. The characters, Will Sasso is going to be on it. He plays the daughter's father. The one that Georgie is intertwined with, mm-hmm. Sheldon's brother. But Will Sasso has obviously been part of a live studio audience. Emily Osment has been part of a live studio audience. She's done tapings for Hannah Montana and other TV shows that were filmed that way. So it'll be interesting to see these characters, though, in that format. And I thought that the finale for Young Sheldon was really good. I think the way everything was handled made sense. And I really kind of just wish that it didn't end yet because the cast I thought was so good. And you can watch the first 6 seasons on Netflix. The final season's on Paramount Plus for now. I don't know when it'll be added to Netflix, but
at some point.
I enjoyed it. My next shout out goes to Dave, not to be confused with you.
No.
It's a series on FXX. And I had been meaning to check it out since it premiered, which was 2020. And the third season just came out in April. There might not be more. Maybe they'll renew it eventually. I'm not sure. I think they were saying that Lil Dicky wanted to focus on doing other things outside of the TV show. But if that was the ending, then I thought that had a pretty good ending too. And it wrapped up most of the show. But it's a fictionalized version of Lil Dicky's life. He's a rapper. Andrew Santino's on it as a character. Gaeta portrays a fictionalized version of himself. There's been other guests who have played fictionalized versions of themselves, like Benny Blanco, Doja Cat, Macklemore. Rachel McAdams has played a fictionalized version of herself. I thought this was a very, very funny series. Super out there at times, but still, I thought this was like a knockout of the park with a series. Mm-hmm. So check it out on Hulu. Maybe you'll enjoy it as well. And then my last shout out is not a shout out, it's an anti shout out to WWE 2K24, because everything that went on this week with this game. They announced Persona cards for updated attires of The Rock and Roman Reigns, and it would be coming to my faction. And if you unlock them in my faction, you can use them in your game, which I didn't know beforehand, but you can't edit these characters like everyone else. So The Rock is not in ring gear. Roman Reigns is not in ring gear. It's like their attire from the WrestleMania press conference, I think. But in order to unlock these characters, you need special cards to even get a chance to unlock Roman Reigns. And you need all the big cards from that new pack in order to unlock The Rock. And it has people spending well over $400 trying to unlock these people.
That's insane. And
the odds of pulling Sami Zayn, the card that you need to get Roman Reigns, you're just not at all likely to unlock these cards. And I think that's so trash to do that. It should have just been given to people as a locker code for free. The attires are there. Just give them to us. It's a tattoo on The Rock's arm. It's a man bun for Roman Reigns. And it's like when they announced these Persona cards originally, when they announced the game and everything, and they were like, oh, Persona cards are going to exist in my faction this year, where if you get that, you unlock it in all the modes. It was like a sign of like relief came over people, because all people wanted was to not have my faction exclusive characters. Mm-hmm. Like last year they had Big Papa Pump, and they had other attires that you just couldn't use outside of that mode. And they changed it this year, and it's pretty moot when something like this comes up. And the event's basically over. There's no way. I opened up 4 packs of cards, didn't get Sami Zayn. So I can't even get Roman Reigns. Can't even try to get Roman Reigns.
Stupid.
It's garbage. So it's like, for every step forward, there's like 2 steps back. Mm-hmm. Garbage. So those are my shout outs. Now it's time for our
Mark Out Moment of the Week.
That is right, our Mark Out Moment of the Week. This week's episode of Pod Meets World was with Bruce Pritchard, which was very unexpected, but it was cool to hear Danielle Fishel, Ryder Strong, and Will Friedle talk to him about the wrestling episode of Boy Meets World and more as well.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I enjoyed listening to them talk about pro wrestling. And the big clip from that episode was that Danielle Fishel wanted to go through a table. Mm-hmm. So it was funny. I saw the news headline goes up, and literally within 10 minutes, you had like 100 people tagging Bully Ray. So I thought that was funny.
I'm sure. Something that I marked out for was The Undertaker appearing on the Busted Open podcast. It's always different for us as fans to hear Mark Calloway do interviews and not The Undertaker. But it's always very interesting. And it was funny just to hear. I always mark out for hearing stories, the backstage stories of the brothers and everything like that. And the sisters and everyone just hanging out backstage and what they've been through. So it was cool just getting a glimpse in on some of the stuff that took place between Undertaker and like Bully Ray. And I definitely marked out for that, for sure.
Also on A&E Biography this week, they had an hour-long extension to Stone Cold Steve Austin's biography, which originally aired in 2021. And it featured the lead up to WrestleMania 38. So I thought that was pretty cool to see like the behind the scenes footage of that and get interviews from Steve Austin and everyone else involved. So I thought that was cool. You have any more mark out moments?
No, take it home.
Well, that was episode 694. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at Markin Out, at BTTG161, at Chris Sweendog, at CM or CM Sweeney85 on Instagram, David PTDPT on all platforms, Facebook.com/Markin Out, YouTube and Instagram at Markin Out 11. Of course, you can listen to episodes and give us a like. You can subscribe on YouTube as well. You could follow us on TikTok at Markin Out, ProWrestlingTees.com/Markin Out. Like I said, with listening, you could also subscribe on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, I should say, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. MarkinOut.com will let you listen to the episodes as well. And we wish you
the best of luck in your future endeavors.
As